What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Growing Up Hip Hop. This is Season 7, Episode 3. The episode is titled Family Business, and let's jump right on in. Now, I'm not going to go in the order of this show. I'm just going to go ahead and break this up into storylines. First, let's go ahead and get Egypt out the way. So, we actually saw Egypt and Sam. They were having a conversation while they were at their home. I guess their little home studio or den area, whatever that was supposed to be. One thing I will say is that Egypt actually looked pretty in this scene. Now, they did talk about how, she's going to be going on this tour, and she wishes that he would be there so that he can basically be at her beck and call. Now, he says that he's basically going to support her from the sidelines because he's going to get his hip-hop snow cone business off the ground. I'm like, what's so crazy is that he comes up with a new thing every time there's a new season on this show. So now he's doing hip-hop snow cones. We'll see if that goes anywhere. And then they also talk about how, it's good that Egypt is going to be stepping out on her own. So that way, if he does go to jail, he'll have something to come home to. What in the pimp talk is happening? Like, it sounds like you are pimping her out to be like, oh yeah, because, I had to do a such and such amount of time bid. I had to do a 5-year bid. But when I came home, Egypt had stacked some money up for me. Like, what is this? Egypt, I promise you need to go ahead and let that man go. So the next time that we saw Egypt, she was prepping for the tour with her mom or whatever. All I can say is that Egypt has some terrible vocals. She was up there doing all that yelling and screaming about being a boss. And then the song actually ended with like a gunshot. And like, Peppa is like, what is that? We cannot have that. Especially in the time that we're in, we cannot have your songs ending with gunshots. Not only that, but look at the crowd. The crowd of people who are coming to see Salt and Peppa and New Kids on the Block definitely are not people who want to hear gunshots. You know what I'm saying? This is not a rap concert. So I'm like, this is where he is trying to sabotage this girl again because they have to call Sam and say, Sam, could you send another version of the track or whatever? And did y'all happen to notice how he was talking to Peppa about how he's going to charge her for this and all this stuff? It's like, dude, why would you even send a track that ends that way? Come on now. So he ends up sending a track, and they were able to like fix it because they were going to just like sub in the ending of her performance track or whatever. But I'm like, listen, that man was trying to sabotage her. He was like, y'all not going to let me on this tour? I'm going to find my way to messing something up. I'm telling you, I don't trust him. So, it's finally time for the big performance. Egypt is excited. I hated Egypt's hair. Like that whole shaved sides. And then they just like stitched some hair on the side. It looked a mess, okay? Egypt's hair was terrible. That outfit was terrible. To me, it was all bad. So Egypt, she got up there. She performed. The vocals were still bad. Now, I will say she should stick to rapping. She sounded better when she was up there rapping, and I think that should be her lane. Once she got off the stage, she thanked her mom for the opportunity, and that was pretty much Egypt. I said, all right, thank God that's over. Y'all, let's talk about JoJo real quick. So JoJo, he's actually in the studio. He has a song called Legacy, and it's going to feature him, Little Easy, and Brian McKnight Jr. I'm like, are y'all going to bring Brian McKnight's son on the show next season? Or on the end of this season? Just curious. Because y'all already know he has a tumultuous relationship with his father. But now JoJo basically realized that he wants to rap. He said that, usually he liked doing management. He liked to work behind the scenes. But now he wants to say a few things on the track. They played the track back when Lazy got there, right? All I can say is I wasn't interested in Easy's rap, and I wasn't interested in what JoJo had to say. JoJo doesn't even have the voice for a rapper. No thank you. In this conversation, though, between Easy, JoJo, and Lazy, because Lazy shows up, Lazy talks about how he wants them involved in his whole hip-hop 50-year performance that he wants to do, and he wants JoJo to get up there, probably rap some Run DMC, and of course for Easy to sub in for his dad or whatever. We'll see how that goes, because I'm still trying to figure out where is Rev Run that he can't show up to this show, because I definitely feel like he should be able to do like a pop-in appearance. I just think it's weird because we've seen him on reality TV before, so this shouldn't be anything different. You know what I'm saying? Oh, also, I forgot to mention how Lazy, of course they had to ask him about the whole Sequoia Tiny situation, because they wanted to know if Sequoia would be involved in this hip-hop celebration. Now, he says that, they have been talking for him and Tiny. They have been talking for like 2 years already, because they were talking when the pandemic happened. And basically, they just, started dating. Now, he thought that she knew. But I'm just like, clearly she didn't, especially considering y'all over here sneaking around like teenagers. So now he realizes that he needs to talk to Sequoia. I'm like, all right, cool. Now let's go ahead and jump back on over to JoJo and Easy. So JoJo meets Easy at a casino. A random casino. I promise you this was super random. But we learned that Easy has a gambling problem. Everybody knows him at this casino, whether it be the person who's dealing cards or somebody who works in the kitchen. Everybody knows him. He comes there like every day. According to him, this is his man cave, even though his wife wants him to come home. So my question is, how much money are you losing? Like, he made it seem like, oh, this is just my play money. I put money aside for this, so, it's fine. Doesn't Lil Easy have like 15 kids? Okay, maybe not 15, but I promise he got at least more than 5. You have like 5 children, sir. I'm not understanding why you're not putting your money away for their college education or doing something else with it. Oh, well, let me go ahead and talk about JoJo real quick, because he talks about how, him and Tanice's dad don't see eye to eye. Now, according to JoJo, he doesn't have a problem with this man, but the man has a problem with him, and how basically, he's not treated Tanice bad. He's not out here cheating on her. He's not doing anything wrong. So he doesn't understand where her dad is coming from. So Easy tells him that he just needs to have a conversation with this man. I absolutely agree. There has to be some reason why a person can hate you that much. So I'm going to assume that in future episodes, there's going to be a conversation had. Now, jumping back to Easy, y'all, we finally see a little bit into his life. We had not seen Eric, I want to say, ever. We've never seen his home life. We've never seen the kids. We just know that him and Aaliyah have some kids together. So we see Eric, he goes to pick the kids up from school. And while he's on the phone, y'all, he's on a business call. And his kids was showing out, okay? The little boy is singing in the backseat. He playing and hitting with his sister. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a mess. So they get to their house, and I'm just like, I think they must live in like the IE, the Inland Empire or something, because that don't look like LA. But nonetheless, they get home, and there's toys everywhere. You had another 2 kids that were there. I'm just like, okay, yeah, you have a full house. Aaliyah's trying to clean up the kitchen or whatever, and Eric is telling her like, oh, well, our daughter, she has a birthday party to go to. And Aaliyah's like, okay, well, you can handle that or whatever. He's like, nah, I ain't handling that. You got to do it. I've realized from watching this scene, Eric may financially provide for his family, but he is completely checked out. He is completely MIA from his children. He ain't interested in them kids. He ain't interested in being at home with Aaliyah. I see why he is now becoming a gambler who's there 7 days a week. The man has completely checked out. So Aaliyah talks about how, he wasn't answering his phone when she had called him before because he was out gambling. He's like, well, I don't want to answer my phone. He was just making all these excuses to the point where he didn't want to have the conversation anymore. So he gets up and leaves. so that he could probably go back to the casino. And I'm just like, oh, now this storyline is actually interesting because I feel like Eric has had all these kids and now he don't want to deal with the fact that he have all these kids. I'm like, well, you're just like your father. The only difference is that your father had kids all across the world or whatever, and he was a famous celebrity, so he got to dot in, dot out. But you actually have to live with your kids because you married Aaliyah. Y'all have multiple children together. You live there, and you actually need to be a father. The thing is that, yes, okay, I have a whole theory about celebrities and their dads, especially the black ones. It's so strange to me that many of the black celebrity kids, they want to live up to whatever their father was. If their father had 5 kids, they want to have 5 kids. The daddy was a rapper, they need to be a rapper. Like, it's so strange to me. Like, this reminds me when ODB's son was on the other version of Growing Up Hip Hop, and they talked about how many kids he had. ODB had a bunch of kids. His son had a bunch of kids. Like, why are you trying to match up with your father in that way? Same thing with Eric. You want to be your daddy so bad, but let's call a thing a thing. If you got kids in all these different places, you can't really be a father like that. So you decided to settle down. Then actually settle down. Be involved with your kids. Give Aaliyah a hand or something. All because you make money, that doesn't equate to actually being involved in your children and your wife's life. Like, the fact that she's calling you not answering, like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you overwhelmed because you didn't expect for life to be this hard for you? Trying to, maneuver being a businessman, a husband, a father. Like, what's happening here? I feel like you need to go see a therapist, not lose all your money at the doggone casino. Come on now. But we're going to see more of what's happening with their storyline later. Because I want to say there was a clip for like what's going to happen this season where she kicked him out the house. So I'm ready to see that. Now let's go ahead and move on because now we have to talk about Sequoia. So first things first, we actually saw Sequoia. She was at her house. I will say I like the aesthetic of the living room that she was in. It probably was like an Airbnb, but I will say I like the aesthetic of it as well as Tiny's house that we saw later. Sequoia talks to her dad. She talks to JoJo. I feel like this scene was completely chopped up because his answers were not matching up to what she was saying. And basically she just doesn't know what to do about her mom. She feels like her mom is acting different. JoJo, he knows that, the relationship between him and Tiny is over, and he knows that that's something that he has to live with. Now, let's go ahead and jump on over to Tiny's house. So we get to Tiny's house. Sequoia comes over. She already got attitude. So Tiny, here's the thing. Am I the only one who realized that Tiny was probably wearing Lazy's hat? Nonetheless, Sequoia said, okay, I'm ready to listen because you said you had a lot to say. Before her mom could really start to say anything, she goes in about how her mom, I heard all this stuff about you and Lazy at the party, and then how y'all were all over each other, blah, say, blah. Like, you need to just tell me what's going on. I'm like, you didn't even let your mom say a word. Okay. So we also learned that Tiny has moved out 2 years ago. So you mean to tell me that it must have been very rocky when it comes to her and JoJo. So Tiny tells her daughter, me and Lazy, we've grown fond of each other within that time. Again, Sequoia's giving attitude, and her mom feels like, this should not be affecting Sequoia to this extent. Like, she feel like Sequoia is really like putting 20 on 10 right now. So Sequoia is like, you haven't been handling the business right. I'm going to need new management. And I'm just like, okay, Sequoia, I need for you to get all of your feelings and everything in check. Because what is this really about? Is this about your mom and the business? Is this about her dating lazy? Is this about you feeling like you're stuck in the middle of your parents? Like, I feel like Sequoia, she should have like wrote her feelings down so that way we can stay on topic, because she was kind of all over the place. I will say that. So at one point, Sequoia is like, yeah, because you've been mixing business with pleasure and all this stuff. I'm like, yo, Sequoia got a slick mouth, because I feel like had the cameras not been there, Tiny probably would have backhanded her, for real, for real. Because at one point she told her to stay in her place, and I was like, yeah, Sequoia about to get hit. So Tiny has to tell Sequoia, like, I'm not going back to be with your father. And even JoJo knows this. So I'm like, wait, I've realized that even though, they are not officially divorced, right? They've separated. The woman has moved out of the house. What does Sequoia want her to do? Does she want her to give, like, the marriage a chance again? Like, I just feel like Sequoia is coming from the place of, like, this little girl who still wants her mom and dad to work it out. But I know for sure that JoJo has done Tiny wrong. I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of infidelity. I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of baby mama drama, because y'all know he got other kids by different women. Like the alcoholism, like, I'm sorry. I just feel like with all the things that Tiny had to deal with when it comes to JoJo, the fact that Sequoia is like, well, now I need to go tell my dad that I know what you've done, blah, blah. It's like, girl, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot for a man who was not a good husband. He may have been a great father, but he was still a terrible husband. So I need for you to learn how to separate the two, baby girl. So at one point, you can even tell that Tiny was really getting frustrated, because she even said, you're pushing it. So she tells her that, you're acting like a 12-year-old. And Sequoia is like, well, you know what they say about rappers. So after that, she like gets up, she's like grabbing her stuff, and then she tells her mom, like, oh, because you date one rapper, you've dated them all, they're all the same, he's just gonna break your heart, like all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, is this your mom or is this your enemy? Like, did you have a thing for Lazy? Did you have a crush on this man? And you had that your mom got him? Like, I'm trying to understand where all this energy is coming from. Because even when they got outside, the mom is still trying to have a conversation with her. Like, Sequoia was like, because he was my mentor, blah, blah, blah. And Tiny is like, well, I'm happy with him. I'm actually happy now. And I'm just like, well, you should take that into account, because your mom was probably miserable for years when she was with your dad. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I feel like Sequoia kind of diminished Lazy's character, because she kept saying, oh, well, he's a rapper. I don't want my mom dating some type of rapper. But I'm like, if he was good enough to be your mentor, he's been around all this time, you know that he's a stand-up guy. I just don't like the way you just kind of diminish Lazy to being nothing. But he was cool with you, Sequoia. Come on now. So the conversation basically ends with Sequoia saying, again, she doesn't want her mom to date a rapper. And Tiny saying that Sequoia is going to regret talking to her like this. So Sequoia, she ends up getting in a car, and Tiny goes in the house and she's crying. And that was where the episode ended. What are my thoughts on Sequoia and her mom? Yikes. I honestly feel like they can move forward at some point, but they just need to cool off. Especially Sequoia. Like, I just want Sequoia to realize that, like, your mom has probably been through a lot with your dad. Yes, was it messed up that she didn't tell you that she was dating this man? Absolutely. But at the same time, if this is how you're acting now, I don't know how you would have acted before this. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Sequoia would have had a problem with this regardless of who she dated, to be honest. It didn't matter who her mom dated. I feel like Sequoia would have had a problem, to be honest. But y'all, let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.